Hi guys, good to see you back. Episode 20. Episode 20. Here we're back to fabricating engine parts now. We're getting back into the exhaust header flanges, and you'll see in here I show examples of how I'm transitioning from the 1951 to 53 series heads to the 392 exhaust headers and the difference in the exhaust ports. Should be pretty interesting if you haven't seen the original Hemis and compared them. Just starting to do some suspension planning at this point. The suspension is expected to arrive in weeks, and we'll get the preliminary set up and ready for it. And I do an explanation of what I'm doing with the relationship to the guys building the Mustang 2 front end and sourcing the 9-inch Ford and brackets. I start discussion on the adapter plate and do the first mock-up of the 46RE Dodge Chrysler product transmission. So enjoy, like, subscribe, share it, and comment, please. Thanks. Well, today cleaning up. Got myself some 12 gauge over at an old plant that I used to work in. Threw them out. They must have been mistakes. But anyway, that's just for later. Makes a nice work surface, but it's also it's 12 gauge. What are you gonna do? Then I was looking at the old Valley pan, thinking, God, that is ugly. Goes under the intake manifold. That's where the oil fill screws in and all that, you know, because you don't want to wreck the valve covers. There's no provisions in the valve covers for oil fill. I got that for Christmas. It's a router jig for making 2.5-inch tall letters, and I decided I could take that, make a nice piece out of aluminum that I wanted to polish, and well, that's what I did. I made a sign for the top of the Hemi. It'll be under the intake manifold, but I'm still working on it. I'll have the oil fill come out. That's where it was in the center, but I'm going to have it off to the side. After I get the heads on, I'll do some decorative thing on there. And then with these cylinder heads, I need to make a water thermostat housing, and I started fabbing that up. This piece here will be where the thermostat mounts on. Piece of 1-inch square tubing with a washer so I can get the square tubing out when I start welding, and a base in the center. Pole saw. Should have made this one up, but that'll go onto that bolt right there. That housing will go onto that bolt. Okay, it'll bolt through. Now remember, the thermostat, I'll chuck this up in the lathe when I get it built and cut out the groove for the thermostat, the hole and the step for the thermostat to drop in, drill the 2 holes for the housing to bolt in. This is 1/4 inch. I'll probably put another piece of 1/4 inch on either side before I build this out, and I will do that. Order up the thermostat housing, and then I got some 12 gauge aluminum that I formed, and we'll TIG weld the transition. Okay, it's hard to do with 2 hands, but I'll TIG weld that all on, dress it out. In the back side of that, I'm going to drill 2 holes for these bungs, 3/4 inch NPT bungs, and then from there I'll transition to a JIC, you know, with the nipple on that end. When I build the intake manifold, the flange will have a 3/4 inch NPT in here, again with the nipple transitioning to a JIC, or a, what do we call that, A&N fitting on either side of the head on the front of the block. And so that housing will be here, and I'll have a port coming out of here and here that will go into that thermostat housing. So that should be pretty good. That'll be all under the intake of that, but I mean, it'll be kind of pretty looking. You'll be able to see down through the runners, you know, to the bottom there. So that's my project for the day, and I'm quite proud of it. 331 Hemi. Have a good one. All right, I've been patiently doing other projects in the house, mostly watching TV as I wait, but today the final delivery of the exhaust valves, the correct exhaust valves, occurred, and these heads are going over to get rebuilt tomorrow. So that's good news. Also, one of the things that I talked about earlier that finally came in, these are plasma cut. You know, I got to clean up and get the mill scale off, all that kind of thing. But these guys, if you remember, the magic marker outline is that of the headers. Now, upon porting the head, you know, there's a lot of different opinions out there. There's certainly a lot of science out there as well. But the reality is that these heads aren't going to flow a super amount, but I'm going to try to relieve wherever
Okay, I did receive the transmission adapter in. This step here and this pattern locates on this edge here, and that pattern, it properly clocks the bottom of the transmission relative to the engine. I do have the bottom off because I just inserted the dowel pins. I am not sitting totally down. I've got a gap because I've got a little bit of sanding to do on each one of these, just like that kind of sanding. I'm about a thou off. I want that fit to be perfect. I'm about a thou under the dowel pin diameter. Every single one of these bolts is in. The beauty of being able to draw this up, measure it, draw it up on AutoCAD, make templates, check your templates, all of that kind of thing. Now you should know, here's a 3/8 bolt. Here's the difference in that hole diameter. .4 on a .375 bolt, 25 thousandths in the hole. Okay, and I knew that, hey, if there's any margin of error in the original casting, because tolerances in the 50s aren't tolerances in 2023, but the reality is, as I locate on these two holes, every single one of those hits. They hit. Now this is for the bottom cover. That's why there's, goes into Never Never Land, right? So, but I can pull any one of these out, and you can look down the hole as I get right over it, and we're hitting right on. We're hitting a couple of threads. We're right there. So no friction, nothing stopping me until I hit the lock washer. Nothing. Okay, so except for, okay, I shouldn't say nothing. There's no bind in there. I really should clean the threads a little bit. But with that being said, I chased the back of the block, but I didn't chase these bolts because whatever. The point is, everything goes in, everything goes down. It's located on the dowels, just beyond the chamfer. But now she's tight. Not going to force it, not going to nail or hammer it, none of that stuff. I got to just clearance these just a little bit. So, more to come. All right, I want you guys to experience this with me. So, I cleaned out these holes, the dowel holes. I had about a thou, slightly over a thou, on the diameter to take out of it. Okay? I got the dowel pins in. She's sitting there, and she has to go down just dead straight. Oh. Just dead straight before she goes on. That's the kind of tolerance I like. I'm showing you these all register. Okay? They all register. 331 Hemi with the bell. Steel, 5/8 steel plate. Roughly 14 pounds, I suppose, something like that. We did the calculated weight when we did the drawing. But roughly 13, 14 pounds. It's nominal, about the weight of a bell housing, I suppose. Okay, so now he's off. I'm gonna bring it close. And this is a taper. This is a 57.5 degree taper on there. Okay? So now we go to the transmission side. We saw that we had the torque converter on there. We had clearance under the torque converter. Later on, you'll see this over the course of the video, because as this is going together, you'll see that. So now that taper needs to register on this taper. You see it slide in. I'm going up. There is nothing. Bolt 1 started. Bolt 2 started. Bolt 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Height tolerances, close registration. You can only do that with precision measurements. I'm not gloating. That's the only way that's going to happen. So now the marriage from this to that is the next phase. And looking for, are these bolt heads going to hit the torque converter? They're not, because I can see we had almost 1/4 of an inch of clearance, and these are chamfer bolts. And I thought I grabbed the socket, threw it here. There it is, right there. No, the bolts are recessed about 1/8 of an inch below the surface. I don't need it super tight. Sorry about that. Turn the camera before I make. I'm just pulling the cap off. I'll show you the registration really quick on here. So that's the front pump. It is machined all the way around. I can get a fingernail into the areas where it was machined. And I just pointing out that we're about 10 thou under any high spots on here. So I'm purely on the machined surface of the bell housing. Next area is to make sure, I haven't even done this yet, that there is indeed a gap. Yeah, and there is. All the way around. Hoofda. Okay, I got a little bit of material interference right in here. So I'll need to shave that. But at this moment, I need to check this. Ooh. Okay, we are not fully engaged yet. Oh. Oh. There we go. My sprag for reverse just fell from here to there. It's not a big deal. It's probably the safest spot for it right now. Completely forgot it was in there. There we go. I am rotating the engine. We are there. We got, and I'll have to unbolt the torque converter. I'll have to unbolt the torque converter and make sure that I have about 150 thou, over 100, under 175, but somewhere in the neighborhood. Spec was 156 thou, as dimensioned on the drawing when we did the SolidWorks model for this. But at this point, we have a marriage. That's exciting.